I'm just say good evening to everybody, and I'm pleased to see that Claire Richmond from Richmond Borough Mind has joined us with her team, Gary and Marta, and also that Claire Richmond will be here from Richmond Parent Carer Forum. Apologies, we had a few technical difficulties just at the beginning of the call, but we're really pleased that you've all been able to join this evening, and I can see the participants coming online just now. Just to run you through the plan for this evening, I'm going to start off by talking you through briefly an overview of our ADHD Embrace services. And then I'm going to hand over to colleagues from other local organisations who we're really pleased have been able to join us for this session this evening. So we'll take Richmond Parent Carer Forum first, and then we'll move on finally to look at Richmond Borough Mind. So we're anticipating something like 15 minutes for each presentation, and there'll be an opportunity for you to type your questions into the chat. So I expect most of you are familiar with Zoom. This is slightly different because it's a Zoom webinar format rather than a Zoom meeting, but we can see that you're all here. So if you can type your questions into the chat as we go along, what we'll do is take those at the end of each service presentation. And then if you prefer, there's also a Q&A button, just in case there's something you'd prefer to ask anonymously. You can use that Q&A function as well to ask a question. So I'm going to start off just by sharing my screen and giving you an overview of our services at ADHD Embrace. So my name is Rebecca Clake, and I'm the operations manager at ADHD Embrace. Until very recently, we were known as ADHD Richmond and Kingston, but we've rebranded, and that you can see our new logo on the screen there, which is really all about trying to show the shared role of both parents supporting ADHD and also the professional community as well. So teaching assistants, SENCOs, doctors, speech and language therapists as well. So our new logo, ADHD Embrace, is really about recognising all those people who support children in our community with ADHD. But we remain very much a local charity. So Richmond and Kingston are really important to us in terms of the support that we offer. I'm going to touch just very briefly on what is ADHD, and then I'm going to move on to telling you a bit more about our organisation and how we can support you. So ADHD, as I'm sure most of you are aware, stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. It's a complex neurodevelopmental condition, and you can see here on the screen some of the key characteristics of ADHD. So those would be inattention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. But it is worth noting that it presents differently in different children, and some children and young people will have an inattentive kind of ADHD, and that might mean that they present differently. We've got some really useful resources on our website as well, which are looking specifically at how ADHD might affect girls. Historically, girls have been underdiagnosed when it comes to ADHD. So, if there's someone, who doesn't present, as the kind of typical bouncing off the walls, very active boy, that doesn't necessarily mean, that they can't have ADHD. It's just worth being aware that it can affect different people in different ways. And the other thing flagged up on this slide is that ADHD often runs alongside other conditions or difficulties. So it might be children with ADHD have trouble with social communication, with sensory integration. It might be that they are autistic, possibly, or that they have challenges such as dyslexia or dyspraxia. So just a little bit of background there before I move on and tell you something about our organisation and the support we provide. So we know that children with ADHD are sort of facing challenges on a daily basis in terms of their behaviour and how they're able to sort of organise themselves. And some of the things they might come up against are summarised on these slides here. It might be that they appear distractible, they might be very impulsive, managing emotions can be a challenge. For some children, it might seem that they're more of a daydreamer. So it may not be that they're sort of all over the place in terms of hyperactivity, but it might seem that their head is more in the clouds. These children often have a hyper focus for something that they're very interested in and really into personally, but find it very, very difficult to concentrate on things which they're not interested in. And obviously that can make things like school a challenge. So these are just some of the issues that children with ADHD might be up against. And who are we at ADHD Embrace? Well, I've told you a little bit about our history. We're a charity, we're a registered charity supporting parents and professionals who live and work with kids and teens with ADHD. In terms of the statistics, we think that something like 5% of the population have ADHD, and getting help to those kids at an early stage in their life is really, really important. Our organisation has been around for 2 decades now, so we're actually quite excited. This is our 20th anniversary year coming up. The organisation started as a voluntary group to support parents when our chair, Annette Wilson, when her son was initially diagnosed with ADHD, she wanted to reach out to other parents and realised there was no very easy way of doing that because, doctors can't just hand out other parents' contact details. So, she asked if she could put a notice up in her local sort of waiting area where parents would be waiting to see clinicians, sort of saying that she wanted to reach out to, others in a similar situation. And they started getting together for coffee. They started inviting speakers in to talk about issues relating to ADHD. And really the organisation has grown from there. And providing this support community for parents and professionals really is at the heart of what we do. We have a small paid team at ADHD Embrace, mainly part-time staff, but we're supported by a much wider team of volunteers who sort of help make what we do possible. I'm only going to look very briefly at this next slide, but it's really just to give an overview of some of the challenges children and young people are up against and what some of the, possible, poor outcomes could be for them were they not to receive the help that they need. So unfortunately, children can feel frustrated. They can become isolated because it's tricky for them to make friends. They may feel depressed, and they're more likely to suffer from low self-esteem. The statistics show that children with ADHD are more likely to be excluded from school or to suffer a suspension and that kind of thing. So really, there are some very real challenges in supporting those children and young people with ADHD. That blue triangle that you can see there, which talks about diagnosis, knowledge and treatment, that's really where our organisation comes in. What we really want to do is to support parents and professionals working with children with ADHD so that they really have a good understanding of the condition, so that they can empathise with the children they're working with and best support them and allow them to achieve their potential and get the best start in life. The ways that we do that are really sort of centred around 3 main aims. It's about providing knowledge to the people we support. It's about raising awareness of ADHD in the general public, but also, just through schools and community groups, as well as at government level, and really about empowering those with ADHD and families through the knowledge that we provide to go on and sort of be as successful and effective as possible as they move forward with their lives. On this slide here, you can see an overview of the kind of services that we provide. And what I'll do is talk through this briefly, and then we can look at the website, so that will make it a little bit more visual, and you'll be able to see how you can seek this kind of thing out if you'd like to use some of what you see on the list. So many of you will probably already know that we have a regular newsletter which goes out twice a month. And that's a good way of staying up to date with all our latest activities and, sometimes talking about topical ADHD issues. We might have some information about a topic like sleep, which can be a challenge for families where a child has ADHD, for example. We also have lots of information on our website about the condition and also about supporting, for example, children in education. We have a kind of introductory ADHD handbook for parents who think perhaps their child might have the condition and want to learn some more about it and what they do next in terms of seeking a diagnosis. And we also have a video store where we have, if there's a webinar that you spot that has taken place in the past, which has been recorded, there's an opportunity to still to download that and benefit from the advice from the experts who've spoken for us. You're at one of our seminars this evening, and thank you very much for joining us. We run these twice monthly, usually. Previously, they have been in person prior to COVID, and they were normally running at Heatham House in Twickenham, close to the train station. Obviously, over COVID, things have been different. So we've shifted over to a webinar model, as we're doing this evening. And those normally run on either a Tuesday or a Thursday, 8 o'clock till 9:30. So normally, this evening's a little bit different because we've got 3 speakers and presentations, but normally we would have a single speaker on a particular topic, whether that would be medication or nutrition or something like that, speaking for about 45 minutes, followed by an opportunity for Q&A for sort of another half an hour or so. We also have had an exciting year starting in September with our new teacher seminar programme. So again, these are running online at the moment, but this is a dedicated programme of webinars put together for teachers and teaching assistants so that they can get some really good information, which helps them best support children and young people with ADHD in school. So we've had sessions specifically for primary school teachers and a session specifically for secondary school teachers. There's a whole range of topics. So this would be the kind of thing that it might be really useful for you to share with your child's school if they're not aware of this already. Obviously, we're working to build our database of professionals. We also are able to go into schools in the Richmond area and Kingston as well. Hopefully, if staff are interested in getting some more information about ADHD in our organisation and how we can support them. So we can give a kind of 20-minute presentation with an overview of what we do. And there's also an opportunity for teachers to join our Facebook forum where they can sort of exchange insights and ideas with other professionals working in the field. For parents, which is really crucial, where parents have just received a diagnosis, be that via CAMS or a private diagnosis, what we really want to do is to reach out to people at the beginning of their journey and have them come along to one of our post-diagnosis workshops. These are held by our family support worker, and they are a really great opportunity for parents to find out more about the condition. What does the diagnosis mean? It can be a sort of confusing time and a bit of a time when parents can feel quite isolated as they try and work out what this means for the child and their family. So it's really about giving them information about the condition, what kind of treatment is available, how they can make sure they get the support they need for their child in school, and also put them in touch with other parents, which is really important. We've also been running some parenting courses. The next one starts at the end of January, and it's a small one, and it is actually full, I'm afraid. But we've got some more coming up in May. So we should have 30 places on one for parents of primary school age children and 30 places again for parents of secondary age children. And those are going to be run by Noelle Janice Norton, who is a parenting expert and a sort of experienced educator, both in this country and in the US. So those are geared specifically for parents of children with ADHD. So that can be a really useful way for parents to get some sort of tools in their toolbox when it comes to sort of thinking about family dynamics, homework, meal times and routines and all these kind of things that keep family life sort of ticking over as effectively as possible. We also have for Richmond and Kingston Borough families a one-to-one advice clinic, again with our family support lead. So if people are having a particular challenge, then there's an opportunity to fill out a form on our website and request a session there. And that would be over the phone probably, or via Zoom potentially at the moment. And the final thing I've mentioned on this list is peer-to-peer support. We feel it's very important for parents to know that they're not alone, and that there is an opportunity to talk to others in a similar situation, and share stories and experiences and ideas for what's worked for them. So we've been running some walks in Bushy Park, which have gone down well for parents to get together, and also some facilitated discussions via Zoom with some of our volunteers, where there's a chance to sort of, again, meet each other and chat online. We also have a very active Facebook closed forum for parents where, again, they can, people can raise questions where they'd like input from others, and have some support and encouragement and advice in that format as well. I won't spend very long on the next slide, but just to let you know, in terms of how people find our services, we did a survey a couple of years ago and were sort of hugely pleased to find out that people found, what we were able to offer in this community extremely useful when it came to supporting children with ADHD in terms of the information and the support that we provide. And that was both from parents and from the local bodies in the area. So we're involved in working with, for example, Achieving for Children, to really make sure that people in the community are aware of what we offer. You'll see us on the local offer website, and working closely with CAMS as well to make sure that when people are diagnosed, that those parents are being directed towards our services. So finally, in terms of, what can you do if you'd like to become more involved with our community? You might feel that there's some things you're involved with already and others you know less about. I'm going to show you briefly how you can come onto our website and register if you haven't done that already. I'll also show you briefly some of the resources on our website. And we would love to see you at one of our upcoming events. So I'll tell you a little bit more about some of the webinars which are coming up too. So hopefully you can see, if I just go now to the ADHD Embrace website. So what you need to do to register with us, if you haven't been able to do that already, is come to this button here where it says login and register. And there's a chance to do so either as a parent, carer, or a professional, or, for example, people like grandparents might even want to join and find out more about the condition so they can better support their families. And as you go through that process, there'll be a chance to request to receive our newsletter, and you will just need to look out for a confirmation email in your inbox. So that's a really useful way to stay up to date with what we're doing. This is a really handy page. If you go to what we do and then click on our events, this gives you a really nice overview of the kind of things that we offer. So we've got the post-diagnosis workshops, which I mentioned. I should say that they are free. We have funding for those for Richmond and Kingston Borough residents. If it is the case that you're, for example, just out of borough, we have been able recently to put those on at a cost of £50. So we realise it would be great to make them available free to everybody. We're not able to do that at the moment, but if you do just fall outside of the borough boundaries, hopefully that's something you still might be able to access. Our seminars I mentioned earlier, and we have a range of expert speakers. The next one is going to be on the 3rd of February. And it's on cognitive behavioural therapy. And that's with Cam Giller, who is qualified in this area, and really looking forward to finding out what she has got to share with parents who want to find out more about this kind of treatment for ADHD and how it might help their children. We've got some really useful resources under About ADHD. For people who want to find out more about the condition. There's a lot to read there. There are some videos that you can look at and all of this kind of thing, which might be useful. And there are also some excellent resources in terms of if you're at the very beginning of your journey, understanding how you set about getting a diagnosis for your child, and some kind of frequently asked questions there in terms of the kind of information that you might need. And the other area I thought it would be useful to show you is our video store. So as I mentioned earlier, we do try and record our webinars where possible. And if you feel like you spot something that you wish you'd been able to attend, we do have a really good selection of videos here that you can come back to and download. So you can either view them in a long list, or we've got some nice collections organised now. So if, for example, you were interested in education, you could come here and see we've got some videos about transfer to secondary school. We've got one about education, health and care plans for children and young people with ADHD. There's a small charge for these videos, although we do have some free ones as well, and I'll show you. I'll show you where you can access those. Yeah, so there are some introductory free videos there as well. If you're interested in coming along to one of our seminars, all parenting courses, do actually please also bear in mind if there would be a financial barrier to you being able to access those services. We do have some assisted places which we can make available as well. So if that's something that you need to let us know about, do get in touch and we can support in that area as well. So I'm just going to go back to my presentation. Because the final slide is really just to ask, are there any questions? Hopefully that's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour through the services we provide. But if there's anything I can help with, in terms of questions that you might have about our services, do please let me know. Okay, so I'm just going into the chat here and I can see you've been able to put some questions in. Thank you very much. So Liz, I can see you had a question about the borough boundaries and the kind of difference that makes to the services that you can offer. So just to say, the times that does make a difference would be, for example, where in terms of our funding arrangements. So just as it stands at the moment, for the post-diagnosis workshops, we're only able to offer free places for those to Richmond and Kingston borough residents. And also the one-to-one advice clinic, we would really like to make that more widely available. We only have funding at the moment for Richmond and Kingston. However, things like the teacher seminars and the just our normal webinar program, those are absolutely open to anyone from anywhere. Over the lockdown period, we had people logging into our webinars from the States, from other parts of the world. So we would be really keen for anyone to come along to those. And I was also going to say that, we are actually working hard now to start building some of those relationships with neighbouring boroughs to make sure that they're aware of all that we offer, so that they can make sure those services are advertised on their local offer websites, and hopefully parents in neighbouring boroughs can get to know what we're doing. Oh, good. I'm glad that's been helpful, Liz. Is there anything else I can help with it at all? Okay, brilliant. Well, what I'm going to do now is hopefully that we won't have any technical difficulties. I'm going to hand over to Claire Richmond from Richmond Parent Carer Forum, who is the chair there. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation, and look forward to being able to find out some more about local services in the area.
Thank you, Rebecca. We seem to still have some technical difficulties with my webcam. However, I'll be sharing my slides anyway, so I don't think you are going to see very much of me anyway. So if everybody can hear me okay, I'll I'll share my presentation, and we'll just do this with the audio.
Thanks, Claire.
Okay,
No
okay.
problem. Thank you. Okay, so hopefully you can see the Richmond PCF logo on your screen now. Is that coming up okay, Rebecca?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Claire. That's great.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to start with actually that terminology, parent carer. It's something that we usually see with a forward slash in the middle, parent / carer. But a parent carer is a parent who also has caring responsibilities because their child or young person has additional needs. And parents often don't recognise themselves as carers. Often they think of carers as being someone older who's caring for a parent or a spouse. But if your child has any type of additional needs, including ADHD, that qualifies you as a parent carer. So what is a parent carer forum? So that the parent carer forums are founded on the principle that services are better when the people that use them help to design them. So the role of parent carer forums is recognised in the Children and Families Act of 2014, when the SEND reforms happened. Every local authority area should ideally have one, and local authorities and health services have a duty to work with their local forum if they do have one in their area. So what we do is we gather and promote the views of local parents to the local authority, and the ultimate goal is co-production between parents and service providers. And what that means is parents and professionals work together as equal partners to plan and deliver SEND services. And again, co-production with parent carers and children and young people with SEND is the statutory duty of local authorities and health services. Excuse me. Okay, so how does our Parent Carer Forum, or PCF for short, how does it work in Richmond? Because every Parent Carer Forum is set up differently to depending on the needs of the parents and the relationships within the borough. So we are an independent constituted group. We've not yet established ourselves as a charity or a community interest company, so we're still an independent constituted group. And because of that, we have to be hosted by a more established organisation. And in our case, that's local charity rules, which some of you may already have heard of. We receive core funding from the Department for Education. We don't receive funding from anywhere else at the moment. Some other parent carer forums are co-funded by their local authority, but that's not happening for Richmond Parent Carer Forum at the moment. We've chosen to be independent from the local authority in that respect. So we have a steering group of 12 volunteer parent carers, and we have a term time, part-time administrator, and at the moment we have more than 300 registered members. So what are the benefits of becoming a member of the Richmond Parent Carer Forum? So first and foremost, that provides you with the opportunity to shape local SEND services. But also you can connect with other local parent carers. Sometimes it can be quite isolating to be a parent carer if your children have additional needs, additional challenges. Not everyone understands. So connecting with other parents who get it, who live it every day, can be really beneficial. And advice and support based on lived experience. I think that some of the best advice and the best tips I've ever got in my parenting journey have come from other parents. Not that I haven't got great advice from statutory services as well, but talking to other parents about what works for them, what they've tried, can be really beneficial. We offer information, workshops and training, as well as wellbeing and social events. because our purpose is parental engagement rather than providing a service, our conditions of funding allow us to provide incentives to parents for engaging with us, for attending events. So we often have goodies and giveaways at our events as a sort of thank you for taking part. And the last one here is personal development and professional skills. Now, that depends how involved you choose to be in the forum. For those that choose to become a parent representative or a member of the steering group, there are a lot of development opportunities, additional training. A lot of parent carers fall out of the workforce because of the demands of their caring role. It can be very difficult to juggle that with your professional work. So becoming a parent rep or a member of the steering group can actually give you back your confidence if you've been out of the workforce for a little while. And also it can provide the opportunity to develop new skills if perhaps whatever you were doing professionally before you became a parent carer just isn't compatible with your parent carer role, and you need to go into a different direction to get back into the workforce. So that can be very helpful as well. I can say from experience, I am a professional musician by trade, and 2 years ago I would have fainted at the prospect of having to put together a PowerPoint presentation and present it at a meeting. So that I'm a good example of how being part of the forum can help you to diversify your skills. Okay, so what's going on with the Richmond Parent Carer Forum at the moment? So we've got a programme of events for the spring term. But we actually have a coffee morning tomorrow at the park, which is opposite the police station in Teddington. And we will have a communication theme, so very relevant for lots of parents of children and young people with ADHD. So if any, you're all very welcome to drop in and come and see us there tomorrow. We'll also be in Barnes in March as well, another communication themed coffee morning as well. And we're very excited because I think this is about the third face-to-face event that we've been able to hold in the 2 years of our existence, because we've been operating in a COVID environment. So yes, we're very, very excited to actually get to see face-to-face some parent carers. We also have some wellbeing focused events taking place over the next couple of months, because it's been a tough time for everyone. And as I'm sure you're all aware, as a parent carer, your wellbeing tends to go to the bottom of the list. So just today, we had a walk and talk session in Kew Gardens where parents meet together, grab a coffee, and have a wander around Kew Gardens and have a chat, share experiences and support each other. We have online yoga running at the moment on Thursday mornings, which is proving very popular. And also we have beginning, the first one is next week. We're collaborating with Richmond Borough Mind, who you're going to hear from shortly. And we're running some support groups for parent carers. We'll have an in-person group in Twickenham. They'll be running once a month on Monday mornings. And we also have a monthly Wednesday evening group running, and that will be online. So also in terms of training and information, we've commissioned a bespoke training session in Send Law as it applies after your child turns 16, so when your child becomes a young person. And that's particularly useful for secondary age, parents of secondary age children who have an EHCP. Parents always tell us that when your child has SEND, you need to be thinking 4 years ahead. So if your child's already at secondary school, as daunting as it might seem, you should already be thinking about what the next steps will be once they turn 16. How can I get my voice heard? So as an individual parent, how can you have your say and have the opportunity to influence how things are done in statutory services in Richmond? So the first thing you can do is become a member of Richmond Parent Carer Forum. You can attend one of our online or in-person events and let us know how it's going for your family. If things are going well, if things aren't going so well, often that's a combination. We also regularly run surveys on various topics, so you can complete a survey. You can email us and let us know if something's going well or if you're experiencing a particular issue. And you can become a Richmond Parent Carer parent representative or join the steering group. Now, in those, if you choose to pursue either of those opportunities, that's going to give you a higher degree of access. For example, I'm the chair of the steering group at the moment, and I have a monthly meeting with the Director of Children's Services and the designated clinical officer. I sit on a number of boards and meet regularly with local councillors. So if you do choose to become more involved in the forum, there is that opportunity to have that exposure to leaders in the borough and to directly have your say on what you think is working well and what you think needs to improve. Okay, so how does the forum promote the views of parent carers? As I've just said, we have regular meetings with leaders in the local authority and health services. We have representatives on boards, committees and work streams. For those of you that have an interest, you may have seen me popping up at the Education and Children's Services committee meeting with Richmond Council, for example. We give feedback to government and regulatory bodies. So we do meet with the Department for Education. We've inputted into the government social care review. We met with Ofsted when Richmond local area inspection took place in June of last year, and the Care Quality Commission also. When we run surveys, we submit reports to the local authority and also to the national network of parent carer forums who work very closely with government. And very occasionally, when we've represented the views of parents and feel like they've not been taken seriously enough, or the local authority or health services haven't acted on that, we will submit a formal complaint. So can I become a member of Richmond Parent Carer Forum? So first thing to note is that membership is free and is open to parent carers of children and young people aged 0 to 25 years with any type of special educational need or disability. And we have a very wide range of additional needs represented within the forum. We have parents of children with dyslexia, cerebral palsy, hard of hearing, etc. So a really wide range. It's really important to note here, you do not need a formal diagnosis to be part of the forum. Excuse me, yeah, you don't need any formal diagnosis to be part of the forum. Very often, access to support and services is dependent on a magic piece of paper, whether that be a diagnosis or an EHCP. That's not the case. If you feel that your child or young person has a special educational need or disability, then you're very welcome at Richmond PCF. The only condition really is that your child needs to live, attend school or college or access health services in the London Borough of Richmond upon Thames to join. And at the bottom of the page there, you'll see the link to become access the membership form and become a member. And Rebecca will distribute the slides after the session. And that is it from me. So I will just have a look at the chat and see if there are any
Claire, I think I might have worked out how you can turn your camera on. So perhaps you can have a try and we might be able to see you. I'm sorry about that.
Right, that's very exciting. Let me stop sharing my screen and try and activate my video. Oh, hello.
Here, welcome. That's nice. A friendly face. Sorry about that. Something had been checked that shouldn't have been checked. Are there any questions? Thank you so much, Claire, for that really helpful overview. And I have to say, I went along to your second birthday party a month or so ago, and it was really wonderful to hear about all the work that you've been doing in the area and actually do a little bit of that face-to-face getting together. But there's such a host of things you've been doing online as well, yoga. It's brilliant. Thanks so much for telling us about it this evening.
You're very welcome. I'm not able to access the chat for some reason. It seems to have disappeared. Oh, I think
I can't see any questions at the moment. Hopefully, Claire, that means that you've been very comprehensive. There was a comment from me. My son is actually 14, and I was just commenting that from a parent perspective. That talk that you've got coming up in terms of planning down the line about post-16 support looks really useful. So thank you for flagging that this evening.
Yes. Now make sure you get yourself booked on, Rebecca.
Absolutely, I will do. I'm going to, if it's all right with you, Claire, we'll move on to Claire Taylor from Richmond Borough Mind. But thank you so much, and I'm sure if people do have questions which occur to them later, do still pop them into the chat. Or all of the presentations have contact details and things like that in them if people want to follow up directly afterwards.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hello, welcome, Claire. Are you able to share your screen?
Yes, thank you, Rebecca. Let me just, I've got an advanced sharing option here. Let me just see, saying, yeah, that should be fine. Okay. I want to do an advanced sharing option. Yes, I can do that. Good. Portion of screen. Okay, let's get this working.
That's looking good. That's looking good.
Is that looking good? Great. Okay. Well, thank you both very much for your presentation so far. It's a pleasure to be here this evening with you both, and also with my colleagues. So my name is Claire Taylor. I'm here on behalf of the Carers in Mind service, which is a service within Richmond Borough Mind. I'm here tonight with Gary Baker, who's my colleague. He's a support worker in the team, supporting families. There he is. I've also got Karen with me this evening. Karen works in our youth and schools service, so very important service for parents here this evening. And we also have Marta here as well, who is spearheading our service that is all about making sure that we reach all the people that have the greatest need for our service, but may not be so likely to come forward or access it so readily. So, as we don't have a lot of time and we have a lot of services to get through, I'm going to try and be as efficient as I can be. I'm going to give you a bit of an overview about RB Mind, the whole organisation and all the services within it. Then I'll tell you a bit about Carers in Mind and what we deliver for families, for parents in particular, parent carers of children and young people, and indeed people of any age, who are the children, maybe they're adults, maybe they're young people still, who are struggling with their mental health. And they may also have ADHD, they may also be on the spectrum. And I'll run you through a couple of quotes from people who've been receiving our services. Karen will then tell you a little about the youth and school service, and then Marta will tell you about outreach, and we'll end with our kind of how you can contact us slide, which is the very last slide. And just for the benefit of my colleagues, because I've got the slides, perhaps I'll I'll navigate the slides for the rest of you when it's your turn to speak. Okay, no further ado. Who are RB Mind? So you may well have heard of Richmond Borough Mind. We've actually existed for the last 60 years in this borough, providing sort of responsive services, really, based on what the need appears to be. And that's why we've actually got a wide range of different services. But they each meet a different type of mental health need, really, whether it's something complex and ongoing, or whether it's just emerged and it might resolve quite quickly, whether it's common, so frequent for many of us to experience and also juggle, our everyday working life, or whether it might be something that interferes with our everyday life and we might get really stuck and entrenched in our mental health kind of overtaking our identity. So there's lots of different services for everyone, no matter what kind of mental health condition you might be experiencing. And as you can see tonight, we are collaborative. We work with other local groups. Just briefly, in terms of how many people we've reached, in the year between 2020 and 2021, we supported over 6,000 people across all our services. And actually all our services now accept self-referrals. So moving on to a slide that kind of gives you a picture of all the different services. The first one you can see in the top middle, the helpline, is in a different colour because it's partly because it's one of our newest services, but also I think the idea is that it may well be the gateway to all our other services. That is the intention of this new service. So it's one-off support in the moment. You need to speak to someone, you don't know who to turn to, you might want to know about local services for your mental health. You can call the helpline. The number will be in the presentation, but as we have a lot to cover, it's not in this slide right now. Then all the other sort of white bubbles are services also within the organisation that are more specialist. So on the top left, you've got a service for common mental health issues, such as anxiety, depression. You might be working and able to manage these symptoms, but just need a bit of extra help. So we have a cognitive behavioural therapy service that's run in conjunction by East London Foundation Trust, which is the Richmond Wellbeing service. And that's a sort of low-level intensity service that is run by RB Mind with East London Foundation Trust. Then moving down, we've got Journey Recovery Hub. Now, that is for people who are experiencing what they define as a mental health crisis, or perhaps they're on the brink of a mental health crisis. That could be that they feel that they are not in control of their thoughts, and perhaps their thoughts are encouraging them to harm themselves or even someone else, but they are able to gain some support in the moment. And this is important to note, this is an evening service and a weekend service as well. The next bubble, we have the Wellbeing Centre and these other groups that we've listed here, the Positive Living Group and Mind in Mortlake. These services are designed for people with more severe, enduring, complex mental health difficulties that are likely to be ongoing, that they live with. And this is a service run by a trained therapist, and there are services such as Recovery from Trauma Group. There is a Hearing Voices network. So some of the more complex issues that are maybe more stigmatized and more problematic are addressed in these services. We also have counselling and psychotherapy. So I'm sure you're all familiar with those terms, and that's exactly what it is. So it's one-to-one support with a therapist, usually weekly, £40 for the assessment fee. Low cost option is £25. There's more information on our website about that, and you'll have the link to everything at the end. Support for carers and families, Carers in Mind. That's where my service comes in. So we are like a little microcosm within the organisation, supporting the families of people who are struggling with their mental health, including parent carers. So more about that in a moment. The peer network on the top right over there, those are activities that are run by and for people with a mental health condition. So these are light-hearted social groups, could be based around, say, art, music, mindfulness increasingly, yoga, cookery. The groups tend to change according to who's part of the network and what skills they wish to offer. And so these can be a good gateway in for people who would like to access the service, but they're not sure maybe what they would like to do. Then we have the outreach bubble. So as I mentioned before, we're joined tonight by Marta, who is leading on this aspect for us to make sure that we reach people who are most in need, who maybe wouldn't otherwise know to reach us. So she'll tell you more about that in due course. And not quite finally, we have youth and schools, which is, of course, really important for all of you today, because this is about the work that we do in schools with young people. We have a whole range of courses designed to tackle aspects like bullying, self-harm, maybe motivation, all kinds of anxiety, of course, which is a very, one of the things that affects young people a lot in their school life. So we do a lot of work with young people. Karen will tell you more about this. The training aspect, which is the last little bubble that we've got here, is delivered both to the voluntary sector. So during the pandemic, we delivered a lot of resilience training, mental health resilience to our colleagues in other organisations. Similarly, we also have training for the corporate sector, which is not funded. So that is a fee-based service, and more information can be provided about those should anyone wish to hear about it. We can provide that information for you. So I'm going to quickly skip down now to the Carers in Mind service, which is the service for friends and family of people struggling with their mental health. I think this slide pretty much explains what I've already told you. It's giving you a bit more information, though, about who a carer is. So a person that provides unpaid support or informal support to a friend or family member. The most common relationship that we support people with is parents and also partners. They're the most common relationship that we support in our service. So it may be that some of the people that we support, who are the carers, some of their loved ones that they support may be accessing some of our other services. So there's something for everyone. I'm not going to focus too much more on what a carer is, as there is quite a lot to tell you about what we offer to parents. So we've always provided support for parent carers, but since October 2020, we've also been supporting parents of under 18s, and we're continuing to do that thanks to funding from Richmond Parish Lands charity. And so, as the slide says, we offer a caring, friendly, listening ear. There's 4 aspects to what we do. We provide one-to-one support, which is based on listening to the needs of the parent carers and indeed any carer that comes our way, and guiding them, providing them some signposting or referrals to other services. We used to do a lot more casework and a lot more possibly sort of informal advocacy, but we're moving away from that and into a more sort of empowering model for our carers. But the actual service that we offer began in 1995, perhaps similarly to some of the other groups we've heard from this evening, whereby in 1995, parents came together to support one another in their role as supporting their loved one, to advocate for better understanding and communication with the services that were supporting their loved ones. And so just a few bits of information for you here. 92% of the carers that we supported who answered our survey said that they found that our service supported them to maintain or improve their health and well-being. And in 2020 and 2021, we had 453 carers supported directly, and that was a 12% increase from the previous year. In terms of other things to tell you about parent support, let me just see what else I should say. In terms of since the extension of our support to parents of under 18s, we've supported just over 100 parents, 111, through workshops, educational workshops, and direct referrals for one-to-one support. Or they may have engaged in some of our leisure activities, which have included yoga and walking and talking groups. We also facilitated some pilot therapy for year 12 students at Waldegrave School, and the feedback from that demonstrated that there was a strong improvement in the mental health of the participants that took place. We've been running a parent guardian support group as well since it's really gotten going in May 2021. There's 13 members at the moment, and we meet monthly for an hour and a half. And the conditions that are supported do include ADHD and also autistic spectrum condition, and then the more mental health aspects such as conditions like psychosis, self-harm, suicidal thoughts and perhaps attempts, substance misuse, self-harm, bipolar disorder, personality disorder. So there's a lot of conditions that are experienced by the loved ones of the people who attend the groups. We also run educational workshops. So we've delivered workshops around navigating the mental health maze of services in both the social care side of things and also the NHS side of things for children. We've run workshops around improving communication and sort of responding as effectively as possible to very challenging behaviour that comes up through mental health, and also looking very much into the recovery and well-being side of the journey of life, and how we can all improve that regardless of how well we're feeling at any one time. And in 6 months we delivered 6 workshops to 90 different carers, and we had some amazing feedback, including, well, I'm going to show you some of the feedback. Actually, I've got some here to read, but I'm going to show it to you. So one person told us they felt it was a miracle that there was a service available for someone in their position. This is this is a carer who's been using our service recently. And another comment here. I just wanted to say thank you for sending through these slides and for putting together such a comprehensive guide. I've just started the process of getting my daughter into the CAMS system, which is the Children and Adolescent Mental Health System, and so this is super helpful. And finally, this is some feedback that came from the Parent Carer Support Group. This carer found that the meeting was moving, interesting and practical. They had something in common with many people. And what I found most heartening was that they said they felt we were filling a gaping hole and being intelligent in how we're adapting to the emerging need. So a little bit speedy, I'm afraid, not wanting to delay too much longer. So if it's all right, Karen, I'm going to hand on to you now, and I'll just move into that slide.
Okay, thank you, Claire. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the work we do with the youth and schools. And We run a lot of projects in primary and secondary schools, which range from either assemblies about mental health or specialist workshops as well. And so for the primary schools, we tend to run two main workshops. How am I feeling today? And the second one is when I'm feeling sad, which again go into a little more detail about mental health for children in a way that they can understand, and, you know, getting them to seek help when they need it. For the older schools, the secondary schools, we run more specialised workshops, anything from bullying to self-esteem, to exam stress, that was what I was doing today, to anxiety. We get called in to do all sorts of programmes. And more recently, we've been asked by schools to actually develop a whole programme of different types of activities with their schools. So that can be anything from workshops to getting peer mentors in, people who can talk to them, a whole range of things. We do have one-to-one youth peer mentoring. That's something that's quite new to us. And we've trained up now 6 peer mentors who will go into schools, and they will actually befriend a particular child and encourage them over, I think it's 6 sessions, to set their own goals, to talk about their mental health problems. So again, it's giving the child more support, especially if they're waiting to get into CAMS. We also now run workshops for teachers and for school staff as well, you know, to help them with their own mental health, and also to understand a little bit more about the children and the mental health problems they may be having. And very successfully over the COVID period, we ran quite a lot of workshops for parents. And again, the first one was an introduction to mental health, so that they can understand and identify if their child is having an issue. And then the second one was about going into more depth about the different types of mental health issues that children and teens could be experiencing, and giving them advice on where they can get help. And we're still running those. We've also now got a youth wellbeing hub, which we're running alongside Kingston Borough Mind, which again is for children to drop in, and there'll be activities there for them. But it's also a space where they can talk in confidentiality about any mental health issues they've got. So that one is actually up now, and I think it's going to be running fully in a couple of weeks' time. And we also have a series of 3 courses, again, for people between the ages of 14 to 18 who might be experiencing either anger management issues, anxiety issues, or self-esteem issues. So they run for 4 weeks, and we have been running them recently online, but we also run them in person. I think we've been running them at Heatham House. And prior to the pandemic, we were running them individually in schools as well. So again, teachers, parents, the children themselves can refer themselves to these courses and get some specialist help. Okay.
Shall I move the slide on?
Yes, I'm not sure if there's anything else. Yes. We do actually tailor courses for children. In fact, one that we've set up came about from a local secondary school, and their 6th form asked for a particular set of workshops on life skills. So we've been running that. We trialled it with the local school, and we're now running it with the same school because they enjoyed it so much, and with other schools. And it's a series of, I think, 8 to 10 weeks, running everything from finance, getting into university, voting behaviour, obviously mental health, how to keep safe, which we've been doing with the local police, also abusive relationships. So we've been covering a huge gamut of subjects at the 6th formers, because we did quite a bit of research actually to find out exactly what they were interested in. And they're all things they think will help them in future life. And what we do is we actually involve a lot of the local charities. So we've got all sorts of people, like from the police to Kew Gardens to Mothers Against Mugging to Achieving for Children, all working with us to actually design and present these courses. So, in 2019 to 2020, we reached about 4,579 people. Haven't yet got the figures for last year, but I think it was substantially higher than that. And we have found that since the pandemic started, schools have been more and more getting in touch with us to go in and help them out. So again, if you want any information, you can contact us via the website or via your local school, because as I say, we also run parents' workshops too. And I think that's it from me.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Excellent, Karen, excellent.
Okay, Marta, I'm going to move on to your slide. Over to you.
So welcome everyone. Thank you again for having us. My name is Marta, and as Claire kindly introduced me, I lead her outreach service. So that's our new service. And I thought I would start a short presentation of my service with certain contexts. So first of all, we do know that mental health services are not accessible as they should be. And they're particularly not accessible for members of marginalized and minority group members. Particularly, we talk about ethnic minorities group or sexual orientation or identity group members. There are research showing that those people are likely to receive help either too late or struggle with accessing service for many reasons. And what we try to do, if we can move slides.
Of course.
And our service aims to encourage greater engagement of service users, particularly from those minority group members. And we focus on people, young people and adults. So we support people 18 plus who are residents of Richmond or Kingston. And we offer well-being assessment, short-term counselling, as well as guidance how to access additional support. So if you like, we also a gateway to our services or to other services. But what we do, we provide this extra mile that we establish hubs within partner organizations, or we provide online support for people who contact us. If people feel kind of lost which service may be the most suitable for them, whether they're apprehensive, have bad experience with other mental health services, or just simply would like to connect with other people, would like to volunteer for us. This is all what we do. And if we can move slide, that would be fine, our slide. So as I mentioned, you can either self-refer to our service, so there are contact details that you can find here, or also we accept agency referrals, and that's something that is very important for us to develop partnership with organizations within Richmond and Kingston Borough to support service users of their organizations of importance of mental health, and also be aware of services may be available for them, and also to recognize barriers to access mental health services and try to overcome those barriers, either through counseling or then to guidance and support in referral process. Yes, I think that's the general overview of the service. Yes, so if you feel like you need mental health support of someone who you know, or maybe your service users, you can always contact us, and we'll be very happy to build partnership with you if that seems to be a suitable way, because there are many ways to contact us, as Claire presents on the next slide. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Marta.
Nice one, Marta.
Thank you, Karen, as well. And if anyone has any questions or maybe isn't sure which service is the right one, perhaps the info at RB Mind would be the place to start. And I might just put the helpline number in the chat as well. And then that would be something else that we can promote. I will stop sharing my screen and I will navigate to our website and then put the helpline number in the chat.
Can I just say a big thank you to Claire, Karen, Gary, and to Marta as well for giving us that overview of your services. There's such a sort of range of what you offer. It's really, really useful for you to sort of talk that through with us, and also to give people the signposting, for the best place for them to get more information. I'm just going to take a look at a chat to see if there are any questions which have come up, because we're quite a small group this evening. If you're watching and you did want to raise your hand, I could actually switch on your microphone if there's something you'd prefer to ask, rather than type. Yeah, there's a raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen if there was anything you wanted to flag. Oh, I think I can see a hand. Here we go. Hi, Sally.
Hello, just a quick question. The Richmond Parent Forum are running an event for 16-year-old children, or looking after 16-year-old children, and looking forward. Is it only suitable for children who've got an EHCP, or is it worthwhile attending if your child doesn't?
Hello, Sally. Can I respond to that one? On this occasion, it's going to be most relevant if your child has an EHCP. So you're very welcome to attend if your child doesn't have an EHCP. But in all honesty, I don't know how much of the content will be relevant for you.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Any other questions at all for any of our speakers, or indeed for me, if there's anything I can help with from an ADHD Embrace point of view? I can see that Claire has just put the Richmond Borough Mind helpline number in the chat, and I think is that the best sort of, if there's a query and you're not quite sure where to go, is that the best central point, Claire?
Yes, I think so. And also the info email address is also a good one, so I'll add that as well.
Absolutely, no problem. And the same for us at ADHD Embrace. We have the info email address, which you'll see on the slides, and that would be a really good way if you've got any queries to ask a specific question if it occurs to you after this evening. I'm conscious of your time because it's 9:20 now. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined this evening, and to fellow workers at Richmond Borough Mind and Richmond Parent Carer Forum. It's been really nice to get together with you and spend some time talking about each other's services, because it's really important, that when with the families that we're working with and that we want to support, that we can hopefully, send people in the right direction. Because I think as a parent, trying to navigate, it's great that there's so much support out there, but trying to navigate your way through the maze so you know what you can access and what is appropriate it can feel like a lot of homework, and it takes time and effort to do all that, as well as look after your home and your family. So we really appreciate all of your input. As I said at the beginning of the session, we will be distributing a copy of the slides, so we'll try and get those around to all of you tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining this evening, and see you at one of our events soon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.